Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
We're not on.
We're challenged. Mr. Cordez? Come on, stand up. We don't need that. Okay. How's that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I get the dog today. Yeah. Our featured pet this week is a Corgi Labrador Retriever mix male picked up on Packard Drive in Lorain. He's got a great attitude, kind of skittish, kind of shy. He's really latched on to our county dog warden, Jack Salempa. He'll be available for adoption on Saturday at 3 o'clock, so stop by if you'd like a really nice pet. Thank you. Be good. Yes, of course I have a quote. Initiative and decision making. I guess that kind of highlights what we've been the last couple of weeks going over. There comes a time when you have to stop revving the car and just shove it into gear.
Amen.
You ready?
Oh boy. Amen.
Madam Clerk?
Is that a sign of what we're going to do today?
Might be what I
Might
tell
be.
you.
Oh,
Shove it.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock, there will be a presentation by Martin Irvine, President and CEO of Team Lorain County, under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. We will need an executive session to discuss some potential new hires, our ongoing labor negotiations, potential purchase of real estate, maybe a pending legal issue. I'll have to look at that a little bit more closely as we get there. These are all permissible subjects under the Sunshine Law. So I would ask that we have an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting.
Thank you.
Under Job and Family, award contract to Casnet Akron in the amount of $86,824 for 2 high-speed scanners and related services for CSEA. This was the only bid received and will be paid from the Computer Equipment, Contract Services, and Professional Services account.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations, approve the grant funding request in the amount of $450,000 from Children and Families First Council for the Success for Youth program. This program provides supervision, case management, and skills training to court-involved youth who are low functioning and or have significant mental health issues. There is a 25% match of $150,000 required, which will be met in kind by utilizing a specialized community control officer already assigned and working within the program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under the engineer, instruct the clerk to schedule a public hearing to be held Thursday, August 30th to place permanent county maintenance on Delfield Ditch, Lateral 3 in Elyria Township. Notice will be published in the Chronicle Telegram on August 16th, and residents will be notified by certified mail on August 9th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
War contract to Crossroads Asphalt Recycling Columbia Station in the amount of $83,693 for the 2007 crack sealing program to be paid from the engineering projects account. 2 bids were received, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed letter honor before July 23rd and complete honor before September 30th. And authorize the county administrator to notify the county auditor to release retainage at completion of project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Authorize the application to OPWC to resurface North Ridge Road from Cooper Foster Park Road to Broadway. Total length of project is 6,643 feet. County road portion is 590 feet long and half the road for an additional 722 feet for a total of 11.3% of the project. City of Lorain has a local share of 26.27% and OPWC is 73.73%. Estimated cost is $585,300 and the City of Lorain will be the lead agent. County portion will be paid from the engineering projects account.
Mr. Carney.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Ken.
Just want to take advantage of the situation. I'm going to be here for a few hours. I have a couple of meetings, but I thought I'd stop in and explain this portion of the program that we have with the City of Lorain. We've been working very hard with municipalities to jointly apply for Ohio Public Works money, and this is the first one to bring forth to the Ohio Public Works with a municipal street that has a county-owned system within it. If you're not familiar, this would be North Ridge Road near Clearview School from Broadway to Cooper Foster Park, quite frankly, by the Ridge Hill Cemetery. A lot of traffic, and we're fortunate that our system is contiguous to the school, so that we expect a higher ranking, and it gives us an opportunity to beef up the safety again for that section of road system. And I'm hoping Lorain follows suit and does the same thing with our design, so that the entire system would have bicycle-friendly from North Ridge, Cooper Foster, I should say, and the Broadway intersection. The entire length, we're hoping to have that done. And I forget the price, but I think it's in the neighborhood of 500 and something thousand, and 585,000 is the total cost, and we're obligated to spend our fair share, which approximately 11.3. So I wanted to give you that brief explanation. Government working together, I think. You'll see more of these coming.
Wonderful. Nice job, Ken.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Anything further?
I guess we're all in agreement.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Now that Sheriff approved Phase 2 with Voris Associates, Inc. in the amount of $68,960 for the correctional needs assessment and pre-architectural program or proposal relating to the overcrowding situation in the jail.
Mr. Drozdowski.
Captain.
Captain Drozdowski. Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Droz.
Basically, what this is a continuation after the first phase of the jail assessment. As we know, in the first phase, we identified who's in jail, what charges are, what type of people we have in jail. This will continue on and start looking at how do they go through the system, how quickly, how slowly, whatever the case may be, go through the system, what alternatives are there for us, whether it be early release, court-supervised release, sending them on to prisons, just how they go through the whole system. And in relation to that, what it'll also identify is the space needs we have with the people we do. Do we have enough maximum security, minimum security, medium security, and identify, should we decide to add in the future, exactly what we're going to need to do. I also talked to Mike Willits from the CBCF. After the last final draft of the Phase 1, it was brought together, mentioned about putting a Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee together to work in conjunction with this study. And back in the 90s, there was a committee put together, Community Corrections. It's a little bit differently named, but it brings in all the players of the systems, your prosecutors, your judges, community leaders, commissioners, obviously, municipal judges, probation, and everything, and they work in conjunction with what the studies find, how to alleviate some of the overcrowding problems, how to get the people through the system. Out of this many years ago, back in the 90s, from Mike Willits told me that that's how the community supervised release program got started, because they seen the need with the overcrowding and the addition to the jail, that there needed to be other linkages. So in talking to Mike Willits, he's been working with Judge Vitleski. They've been re-ramping the program back together, getting the people back together. They're going to send out surveys to all the local law enforcement, everybody who's involved, and start getting everybody back and working on the board, start addressing the needs of today versus what we had in the 90s. And they'll work with whatever this assessment shows that we need to do. Plus, they'll help with the public aspect of it, explaining the need of expansion in the jail if that's what the study shows. So I recommend that we move with phase 2. It's going to take probably a lot longer because it's more in depth, but I recommend we go with it.
Droz, can you explain what our options are with the overcrowding in jail and what our bed count is as of this morning, or close, or yesterday's number?
Well, basically, this morning, I walked in and our count is sitting at 433, which, believe it or not, that's not too bad. It's over our legal capacity, but it's tolerable. This summer, we've been averaging about 450, 460. We had looked at possibility of the early release program. The only problem with that is we did a couple things with that. One, if we do go to early release, we have to go down to the 422 limit, which is what the state set for us. So with the average population of 450, 460, you're talking 40, 50 people possibly being released. What we did was we brought up the early release program from the 90s and revamped it to today's standards and looked at, okay, who would we be releasing? And we did it on the same scale of 1 being the lowest, 9 being the highest, the most violent. And when we did the run, based on the 450 population of the one day, we had no people in 1, we had 2 in 2, 20 in 3, and then it jumped up into the 6s and 7s, which were the felony DUIs, things like that. We had, when we did the run, 9 pages of 20 people on a page of number 9, which is the highest. And from talking to the one officer that worked with me on it, she had been involved with it in the 90s. This didn't even take into consideration a lot of the past history stuff. It was just current history. So we felt that a lot of the 6s were going to be bumped up. So the type of people we would have been putting back on the streets of Lorain County were not the people you want back on. They were felony offenders, multiple offenders, especially the multiple DUI offenders. That's where we started hitting because of the type of population we have in a jail. So we're looking at early release is almost something that we don't even want to explore at this point unless some dire emergency came up.
Thank you very much. I agree with you. And knowing the population out there, I've been adamantly against the early release program. We don't have anything back from the modular company as of yet, do we?
Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. We did meet with M-Space 2 days ago. They came out. Lieutenant Hammond's been working with them. And basically, when we looked at the needs of the jail, we centered on a number of 100, 95 to 100 beds, simply to handle, because last year we hit 554, so that kind of gives us an idea. To lease space from them to accommodate 95 to 100 people, the lease costs, plus we have to supply like the bunks and things like that, and then it would involve hiring additional officers. You're talking anywhere between $800,000 and $1 million a year for 95 temporary beds to alleviate, to eliminate any chance of early release or anything like that. So it's something that you may want to look at too.
Well, that's
and
half the
it'd be a
cost.
minimum 3-year contract.
That's half the cost of moving to Morrow County, though, because that was only 55 beds, and it was, what, $1.5 million we figured with transportation costs.
With transportation costs and everything.
Right, so at 110, it'd be almost $3 million in Morrow County. We can do 100 for
We can
800,000 to
be
$1 million.
between 800,000 and $1 million, and that includes manpower costs, equipment, things like that. And that's was something. Do you want us to further explore that? Because this is like the second company we basically talked to, and both of the figures have been coming pretty close.
Well,
So
yeah,
I don't know
I'd
if
like to
this
see
is
some
something.
paperwork on it. I'd love to see some paperwork on
Okay.
it, so if we can look forward. I mean, we haven't hit that 550 spike as of yet, knock on wood. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
beat
we've been
on that wood
fortunate
real
this summer.
hard.
Yeah, beat on that wood. Yeah, I'd definitely like to see the paperwork on it.
Okay.
Maybe Lieutenant Hammond's forward that over to us.
Sure.
Because, I mean, we're talking about the budget. You already have a $600,000 shortfall.
Correct.
Including what we're anticipating the rest of this year, that $1.5 million yet to come to you. We're still a $600,000 shortfall.
Yes.
I don't think so. Lisa, you want to address that?
If the $1.5 million comes, then we wouldn't have that, but I know we're running we're going to run about a $600,000 shortfall in the jail.
Lisa, do you want to address that? The 600,000, which is not a shortfall, I don't believe. I mean, I think it's in the transfers that are going to be made.
Oh,
Come on up, Lisa. Every
Well,
week.
you just have to be
Budget
prepared.
director is very important to us.
I think you're referring to the paperwork that we had David do, the
Yes.
report. When
I
we
have
looked
the
at,
sheet if you want to see it.
This
You need it?
long one?
Yes.
on this sheet, it estimates out, this does not include the 300,000 that we transfer every month. So according to this, we're looking at maybe like a surplus of $30,000 in the jail fund at the end of the year.
I think you were looking at a shortfall at a period of time, and they're continually addressing
Okay.
the jail issue, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken.
okay.
Right.
Well, a lot of the jail financing is, they have that 0.25%. So
Right.
depending on whether the sales tax is slightly upticking will decrease their need to rely upon us.
I do know that the sales tax, I think, just hit yesterday, and it was $21,000 less than what it was this time last year that
Oh,
came
that's
in.
not good.
No, that's not
Right.
good
Well,
at
City
all.
of
For
Lorraine
the
has
jail
8%
portion.
plus unemployment, plus the
Right.
rest of the counties.
Right.
I mean, I don't see an uptick in sales tax this year, I really don't.
But this amount that we're referring to is the subsidy that the general fund forwards to the jail,
Right,
in addition to the 0.25% sales tax.
right.
Right, yeah, that's some of the figures I remember you guys subsidized us about $3.5 million a year.
I think it was
pretty much out of
3.3
general
million
fund.
last year. Is that-
3.6.
And we
Okay.
didn't touch any of
Last
that for
year.
this year, Dries. You kept the same amount of subsidy. We didn't touch the jail whatsoever in our budget dollars, so.
Okay.
So you're not allowed to be short because we did reduce you.
Okay, I'll tell the inmates that.
You did. No
Little less
snacks.
food.
Thanks, Lisa.
No cookie for dessert. One more question, Draws. We spoke right before the meeting about the actual pre-architectural and possible building of the jail. Will you expand upon that just a little bit of what this assessment's going to entail as far as building a jail?
What this will do is, once we get down to the nuts and bolts, after we see how the people are going through the system, then we will start determining space needs. With the type of trends that we have, the type of people who are coming into jail, it'll determine whether we need more maximum security, whether we need minimum security, whether we need single cells, whether we need dormitories. Because we have a mix of that right now. But what's changed a lot over the last several years, we're dealing with different issues as far as the type of inmates we get in, and a lot of the area is medical and mental health. That's a big booming area, unfortunately, in the jails, and this will help address that, because what the jail was built for in the 70s and 80s and 90s doesn't accommodate the type of people we have. It's like now at 433, the numbers aren't that high, but with our classification system, we have probably 30 or 40 people sleeping on the floors in our one area because of their classification doesn't allow them to be in maximum security, because we need that for the other people. But we have such an overabundance of like medical security logs, things like that, where we have them in a dormitory. It shifts everybody into one area. So what this will do is look at all that and give us an idea, okay, if you're going to build, this is probably what you're going to need. Don't overload yourself in this area. You're going to need a mix of everything. And it'll take in consideration the site we're at, everything, the cost. They'll do a complete cost analysis and try to project out over many years, one, what the place is going to cost to operate. Two, it's going to help us with staffing needs. Instead of us saying, we think we need this, they'll use formulas and say, excuse me, this is what kind of staffing you're going to need. What we're hoping to do is, because of technology, even if we have to expand, we don't feel that we're going to have to expand the number of staff significantly to handle it, because of with cameras and different type of technology you have, the video arraignments, things like that, you can lessen the amount of staff versus the old way of having to put the people in the pods watching every move they make. You do a lot by cameras, which we're doing now with video visitation, with video arraignments. we've eliminated a lot of extra staffing hours simply because we're walking people up and down the hallways. We don't have to do that anymore. We don't take them out of the facility unless it's absolutely necessary. So it helps our security issues, it helps our staffing issues. And with the study that we're going to do, this brings technology even more. So we feel that it's a good way to go. And we know we want to limit the number of staff because of the extra costs all the time with staffing.
Well, there will be input from the commissioners on that.
Oh, absolutely. You're
Being
part
in
of
Colorado
everything.
with you last year, I mean, going vertical seems the way to go and build out, and they talked about moving, where Denver put it right along their Justice Center, their new jail, you know, to deal with the transportation needs and the amount of employees needed. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues we've got to deal with once we get to the point of what we actually need.
Exactly. I mean, I spoke to Mrs. Blair the other day about a little bit is, you know, one of our weak areas is transportation, the amount of people we bring over every day, and it'll address all that. You know, we may be operating most efficiently that we can based off of, you know, what we're doing. We don't know, but this will help address it. And any people, and the other thing is too, people always say, well, you should do this or do that. You're going to bring in people who are going to say, yeah, we looked at it, but that's not the way to go. So I think it's the way to go.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman,
Okay.
I just want to thank Droz for this letter that he presented from Mike Willits that addresses the Lorain County Community Corrections Act Board, and it outlines what that board has done and what they intend to do. And then I believe that this is the board that will be a part of this study, the corrections needs.
I know we need some clarification on it. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Captain Droz.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve number 15.
Second.
Anything further? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
A little bit of positive news this morning. I don't want to give too many details, but we continue to have inquiries into the quarry project as to what is going on, if anything, out there. And you know, there's been a little bit of thinking that the project may not be progressing, and it still is, and there's a lot going on. And just this week, the investment group renewed its option on some property, the Miller property, which is a gateway property into the development. Wasn't a huge sum of money, but they did pay an extra $10,000 to extend the option on that property. So the project still has some life, and there's a lot of things going on that can't be released, but we do know the option was renewed and paid for. So there is activity. We're still believing that the parties will reach some kind of resolution. And there's a lot of money that has been invested by the developers. It's not a huge sum again, but it is progress in the right direction. They would not continue to renew these options if they didn't feel that they still had a viable project that they were moving with. So I just wanted to share that with the board this morning so that you still continue to have the vision that you had and the leadership you had when you started working with these developers about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago now. Other than that, I don't have any additional comments. I know we have visitors this morning, so I'll reserve comments for another time. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis?
Didn't bring any juicy stuff from Kansas City?
I did. I have some DVDs of the entire presentations that I'm going to have duplicated and given to the commissioners. I brought back some information. It was a tremendous training opportunity, and I think that next year I'd like to see some people from economic development go, because the federal government is definitely migrating a lot of their programs into the Department of Labor through ETA to start using workforce development as a stronger vehicle towards economic development. And the synergies that are developing with those agencies are unique. And most federal dollars these days are going to start following what they're calling now the wired process. That is, you're going to have to cast a large net, capture multiple communities. The day of the community-specific grant is rapidly coming to an end. They want to see a more broad-based collaborative relationships established so that the effect of any money spent is spent over various communities and not just in one community. Several of the sessions I attended had DOL, FAA, FTA, as the Department of Commerce together speaking about how they can bring their monies together and then come up with a process where they were pooling their resources so that there wasn't duplication, overlapping, or just affect in one specific geographical region, but over a larger region. There's a lot of changes going on. It's unique, and it's rather progressive thinking. Now, whether they're going to get there or not, I don't really know. But we've seen a lot of money in DOL in the last several months, and we were only successful at gaining that $250,000 grant. But we're going to continue to try to access all those resources. And just this week, there was some meetings with Cuyahoga County, and we're looking to partner with their WIB board and the folks in Cuyahoga a little bit more closely, because they also have a grant that's very similar to the one we got. And we're having dialogue about how to pair those two grants together to get additional resources from those grants, because while we're the lead on that NHE grant, it covers the region, and it's not a lot of money. So we're going to continue to make those relationships and continue to try to have in place those collaborations that will be necessary to be able to be successful at getting that federal money, because I'm almost positive there's going to be a fourth generation wired next spring, and we want to be prepared so we can move very quickly towards putting an application together.
So the Secretary of Labor, Elizabeth Chow, didn't give you a check on the way back?
No, she did. She was there, and I got a chance to talk to her, and I got a chance to talk to Mason Bishop again, and a few of the folks there, and the relationships that we're establishing are also very important. We now have people that know each other, and we can pick up the phone and make some of these calls. And that's another thing we didn't have before, and we need to do a little bit more of that. I was questioning my decision to go to this conference and what the outcomes are going to be, but they were surprising to me. It was one of them that produced a lot of good outcomes and a lot of good training, and I was very pleased that I went. I just don't like doing these things. You always want to do them until you got to pack and go through the hassle, but it was well worth it, and I'm going to be looking forward to possibly a few more people going next year. And Vivian Alexander also went, and she attended different sessions so that we got a lot of information, and she thought the conference was excellent also.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Ennis?
Commissioners, I would like to request a short executive session. Should be very brief. Just to update you on one matter of pending litigation and one matter of imminent litigation.
Sure. Commissioner?
Mr. Cortez, we had some discussion with the Cuyahoga County APL about them coming to take a look at our dogs at our kennel.
We did.
Is that what it is they were going to look at our dogs, the ones that we were going to put down, to see if they were adoptable and take them to their facility as long as we gave them their vaccinations or something. Is that still coming forth, or is that still an open issue?
It's an open... Excuse me, sorry. Multitasking here. It's an open issue. I met with Jack Monday, and we talked about a few issues that had to be clarified. I'm still very, very optimistic that we're going to have a relationship. They did meet. There's a couple little twists that we have to overcome, and one of those was licensing. Under the Ohio Revised Code, we're not allowed to release animals that are not licensed. I mean, the code's pretty clear on that. But clearly the APL doesn't want to buy licenses every time they want to pick up a dog that's going the green mile, so to speak. And I'm trying to figure out a way of dealing with that. What I indicated to them, Jack, to tell the APL in Cuyahoga was that they should buy a few licenses in Cuyahoga, and we'll honor those licenses, and they can transfer those licenses. So when they come here and pick up the dog, they have a valid license. And the transfer fee is negligible. So we're working on that. There's been an issue with vaccination. We did agree to cover a small amount of the vaccination, but now they want more, and the cost is going up. So we're working on a cost split on that.
But we can use our medical fund for vaccinations?
Probably not. We'll probably use it right out of the kennel fund. The medical funds was to treat the dogs that were in the kennel rather than vaccinate them. But I mean, the issue is not that I don't think it's going to be that much money, but they want a full regimen of vaccinations now. We had agreed to the parvo and things like to make sure the dog was healthy enough that it wasn't bringing disease into the APL. So I don't think that's going to be a big stickler issue, but we also have transportation issues, logistic issues like that, and who's going to pick up what. And I told Jack on Monday not to overcomplicate the issues and I don't think he's trying to purposely, and to let the APO work out those things. We'll send them the list, we'll send them the pictures. If they want, we'll hold a dog for an extra 24 hours if they want to come out and take a look at it and do a test and pick it up. Who's going to do the vaccinations became a part of the issue. So there's two really sticking points. One, the license, and two, who's going to do the vaccinations. Because if they see on Friday that they want to pull a dog off of the list, they're going to have to transport that dog and have the vaccinations done on the way back to the APO. We don't have an on-call house doctor to come
Well,
running
that's
out.
another issue I wanted to bring up. A couple of years ago, Ted had a proposal from Dr. Wood
Right.
to be like a consultant that comes in and
Mhm.
looks the dogs over maybe once or twice a week. He's supposed to be digging that. Have you found that yet?
I'm waiting for an update from Dr. Wood. I spoke to him about a week and a half ago, and he had a
Okay.
couple other ideas when I spoke to him.
But we might have to go out for RFPs for that, but
Probably.
that's definitely something that I want to look at and have implemented soon.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. That was in fact, I'm surprised that we didn't do it, because I thought we all had discussed that at length, and we were going to have some kind of, you and I, when we talked about renovating the kennel, which we're still getting RFQs on for assistance, had talked about that medical area where the dogs could be taken in and examined in the facility, because currently there's really no place to examine any animals in that facility, so we would need that room. And you're right, we'd have to go out with an RFP, but it wouldn't be too complicated. And you could probably have, I think you could have multiple vets, it doesn't have to be.
Well, that's what Doc, when I spoke to him, almost be like, assistants,
Sure.
whoever's closest and the timing.
Whoever could do it, because they get busy, so I think we could just have a list and go down the list and see who's available and come on in on once or twice a week and take a look at that. That would be great. I think we need to do that too.
I think his proposal is a little bit more comprehensive than just take a look at once or twice a week, but actually people, when they go through training, our dog wardens are trained, or assistant dog wardens, on what to look for, then to make the phone call. There's an issue comes up. A little more.
Yeah, we've done that training.
Comprehensive, so.
We have had, Doc Woods came out and did do training with our, see if a dog is in distress, and I'm not sure we've actually done the best job every time on making that evaluation, but we have had some training, and additional training is always good, so I'll get with you, Commissioner, and if you can dig up that proposal, that would be great, but you're right, it's something that necessarily needs to be done, but hopefully we'll conclude the discussions with the APO in the next week or two, and I'll have something to report back to you.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Commissioner Blair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lorain County Community Alliance is meeting on Friday, August the 3rd, here in the Commissioners' Hearing Room at 9 a.m. We have several presenters who are going to update us on the regulations for the various communities to comply with stormwater requirements from the Ohio EPA. There are 20 communities that need to become in compliance by next spring, 2008, and so this is going to be a very informative session. Between the time I stop speaking and you exit the meeting, Joyce is going to have some agendas available at the back of the room. Okay. And next, I'm repeating this, but I think it's important. NOACA is going to meet here on the following Friday, August the 10th. The Executive Committee will meet at 9 o'clock, and they'll hear the third and final report from D.B. Hart regarding the Avon Interchange. At 10, the regular meeting will be held. Regarding commuter rail, I announced last week that through the efforts of Congresswoman Betty Sutton, Lorain County Commissioners have been awarded $350,000 towards the alternatives analysis study that the West Shore communities had asked for. And I want to announce today that we have established another meeting of the Commuter Rail Task Force for Wednesday, August 29th at 9 a.m. in the Avon Lake Public Library. And finally, I did see it in the paper, but I want to publicly thank Senator Voinovich for the $180,000 that he has obtained for the Lorain County Regional Airport. We received an email from his office, and that's the second donation that he's made to Lorain County in the past couple months. And I want to thank Elizabeth for sending a little notice here about Women's Equality Day, which always happens during Fair Week. 87th anniversary on Saturday, August 25th. A luncheon program at 12 noon at Kendall and Oberlin, and three very interesting speakers. If you're interested, I can give you the information, or Elizabeth can. It's always a worthwhile program. And finally, since Fair Week is coming up, Hal, if you can pick this up. This was my favorite piece of mail. I got this at home. this lovely pig come to the fair, come to the junior fair auction on Saturday. This is, it says, did someone say food? This is Zachary Jackson's pig, which he would like someone to bid on at the fair.
Looks like bacon to me.
I will be there.
Oh, good, we can go to Ted's for a pig roast.
There you go.
Commissioner, just for clarification, several of our legislators are taking credit for getting us to $180,000. So I'm not really certain that Senator Voinovich was the only one to send us an email that indicated that he had gotten it. I think we received an email from Betty Sutton's office also. So whoever did it, it's great news.
Well, if you didn't share it with us, I got it from Voinovich's office. Whoever sent it, thank you very much.
I just wanted to let you know that there was several of our legislators out there
Well, I
that
guess
helped us out.
only one puts it forward, but several vote on it.
And congratulations on your money for commuter rail, by the way.
And now the fun begins.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Busy week. Commissioner Blair explained we have no WACA coming in here. TAC meeting was quite interesting. A lot of dialogue about the Avon interchange. They went through traffic studies and whether semi-trucks look like buses or not. It went on quite a long time, but the project, hopefully the study is moving forward and we'll come to some closure by October and hopefully get it approved. On Tuesday, we had a Lorain County Growth Partnership event. Over 125 attending per my last count. When I talked to the ladies who were manning the desk, we did the grand opening of the Lorain County Community College Long Distance Learning Center upstairs on our 5th floor. I don't know if you'd like to expand a little more on that, Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, we finally got there. It's been a 2-year project, and we now have state-of-the-art distant learning labs on the 5th floor of the admin building that will be used for to improve the educational opportunities for not only for county employees, but they will be used for the residents within Lorain County evening and afternoon classes. We'll be able to hopefully save some training funds by bringing the training right into the admin building. I'm very hopeful that rather than sending 3 or 4 people to a training, we'll be able to send 24 people to training for the same cost by bringing it into the rooms upstairs. I was asked a couple of questions the other night by the media, and I told them I didn't have the specific answers yet because I didn't know where we wanted to travel to. We had to get a car first, and then we'll decide some destinations. So we are developing a strategy for providing opportunities over the next couple of weeks. There are some classes already slated. There are some classes already slated to happen, and we're going to have the PSI training again that we had downstairs in the other room here, up there, and we're doing a survey right now to see what the best use of the facilities and training time would be. So if there's any ideas out there, this is not just for governments, just not for our folks, it's for the community, and plus even in the private sector, the college can host training here in those rooms up in the building for companies too, to help them. So I'm actually looking to try to hook that up a little bit with our incumbent worker training, to use that as a resource, and thereby reducing those overall training costs also, so that we can use it as a bit of an economic development tool to work on our retention and expansion with those companies. So a lot of energy there and a lot of opportunity, and if anybody wants to, I'll certainly have Sandy take them upstairs and take a look at the rooms if they didn't have an opportunity to do so before. And you're going to hear a lot more on this very shortly. But I got to say, this is one of those unique partnerships that we have here in Lorain County. Nobody else is doing it like this. And you guys are taking a long view and having some real insight into our relationships going into the future and some good vision. I just don't think you get rewarded enough for what you're doing. So me personally, thanks very much for taking a chance on this, and we're going to make it work.
It was a great event. We had a lot of positive comments throughout. Spent a lot of time talking with different people throughout the county, and they're really excited about it. Also, good luck to Cuyahoga County Commissioners today. They're voting to impose their sales tax to build a convention center. We're trying to do it, just continue county operations and keep deputies on the road and the jail operating. They're doing do a convention center, so good luck to those guys. Well, Mr. Messer, you're here. Can I have a few minutes of your time? I have not received any paperwork on the family court, and you promised me 1 o'clock last week.
Watch.
Coming then.
Look, you'll be sorry you asked.
like we're going to read that right now.
Well, not right now, no, but I think we can take some time.
Sorry you asked.
No, I'm not sorry. I asked, so.
No, good morning, Commissioners. These are hot off the presses.
Okay.
And
Had to find them, huh?
Well, it's not an easy thing to make that level of copy. But attached to that is a letter outlining some of our concerns, and all I would ask is that prior to making any decision to move forward in any direction, that you review the letter, review the information, and inquire with us as well as other parties to the extent that you can, any of the questions that you might have regarding the information that's contained in the document. I know it's a great deal to go through, but
I thought we were on a paperwork reduction act and saving money.
Could have double-sided
Could have
it.
just emailed it to me.
I didn't have it to email. If it were an email form, I actually would have done that, and I prefer to do that whenever possible. But this was a hard copy.
Or maybe
and
we
that
can
was
see
the
it
only-
next Thursday, because I got to digest some of this. Can't just flip through it today, so.
Oh, I fully understand, nor did I expect you to. I just wanted to make sure that I made sure that I got it to you as quickly as I could.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Doug.
Russell. Well,
Betty, I'm looking at this breakdown that you gave to each commissioner, and under domestic relations, you have $150,811. Is that their shortfall? Is that what you're saying the shortfall is?
No, that's half of what they asked for.
Oh,
Last week, well, that was my next, that's what I was going to, next, the budget. Last week when I was talking, I felt that due to our budget restraints and not knowing where our sales tax is going at, that we had to be quite conservative in how we reinstated budgets. There were different comments here at the board, and basically I said I would be in favor of reinstating half of the shortfalls for this year and then re-looking at it come mid-October, so we'll see where we're actually sitting at for the last 2.5 months of the year. Commissioner Blair picked up on that. She dropped us, myself and Commissioner Kukowski, paperwork reinstating the budget. She did exclude the jail because we spoke to Lisa Hobart about our subsidy for the 600,000 draws, so you weren't ignored. There was just no need for it after paperwork that was given to us as supporting documentation. But you've got your paperwork with you, Commissioner. I left mine on my desk going through it. If you want to go through some of it, or you did all the work.
Well, what I did was compile the requested amounts from my notes from each of the departments that had been before us through the 2-week hearings, and I totaled those requests, and it amounted to, according to my figures, $2,267,926. And the estimated carryover, according to Elisa, was $10,600,000. Lori says we need $9 million for the beginning of the year. So I estimated that we have $1,600,000 available now. And so I took the amounts that were requested and I divided them in half and gave an allocation of half to each one of the departments. Do you want me to go through them?
Sure, Commissioner.
Common Police requested $155,759. The allocation would be $77,880. For indigent attorney fees.
We don't need that one, by the way, Commissioner, because we have it set aside in an account, correct, Lisa? Correct. We don't need that one there.
indigent?
Yeah, that's not under our normal
You-
general fund.
You had enough money, though I think when they were here, they talked about what they anticipated might be.
Right, we set aside 500,000.
We added an additional 500,000 this year to cover any shortfalls over the allocation from last year.
So we can take that 108 off of there
Okay.
for the time being. We may need it later in the year, though. Tim Luby said that they didn't know how much they were going to need. And I'm sure Doug has the same budget concerns, correct, in domestic or juvenile, whichever one you want to call it, juvenile, as to what their fees are going to be.
Okay, Board of Elections, $305,000. I allocated $152,500. The prosecutor, from $130,000 to $156,000. I allocated $78,000. The sheriff, $146,000. I allocated $75,000. The jail, $0, because we've addressed that already. The recorder asked for $41,500. I allocated $20,750. The auditor asked for $96,625. I allocated $48,325. The clerk of courts asked for $225,600. I allocated $112,800. Tax map, $3,500. Half of that is $1,750. Probate asked for nothing. Thank you, probate. Domestic relations asked for $301,622. I allocated $150,811. The treasurer asked for nothing and earns us interest. Thank you, treasurer. The coroner asked for $18,500, and I allocated half at $9,250. That totals,
$727.
without the indigent attorney fees, $727,066.
Okay, and also, well, that leaves us with about 900,000, slightly under 900,000, 875,000 projected carryover the rest of the year that isn't going to be needed for the first 2 months of next year's operations. But we also have coming in the Gordon case where we're looking at roughly $400,000, Jerry, in settlement dollars and $20,000 in fees. So I'm assuming we can move the fees over to the county prosecutor's office, and then the $400,000 to our general fund for possible additional supplements where needed. I appreciate, thank you for doing all that, Commissioner, because I didn't get quite that far this week on breaking it down. I don't know, comments, Commissioner Kukowski?
Well, I'm just questioning, we should have $1.6 million additional carryover than what's needed for January and February before our tax bills come in. And if you add the $400,000 from the lawsuit, that's $2 million that we can allocate. My suggestion would be safety and the court systems need to be reinstated 100%, and then maybe half for everybody else. And also, I have a concern with the Board of Elections. If we don't give them what they need, we don't have an election next year. So I would say to reinstate everybody's budget 100% for common pleas, Board of Election, prosecutor, sheriff, clerk of courts, domestic, and the rest give half back. Because if we don't give it to them, especially the courts, they can court order us to do so. So we really won't have a choice. If we give everybody half back and they need additional, and they court order us to give it to them, where are we going to get it?
Well, my belief is if we do just half now, Commissioner, we can look at where we're at based on revenues coming into October, because we'll be through the third quarter of the year.
And we're already looking at it, and they're saying that it's lower than last year, so we may have more trouble than what we originally anticipated.
Correct, which means then there will be, consequences, I guess, for all the departments to figure out how they're going to manage their budget, because we still have to open the doors next year. That $9 million that you've pulled up to run January and February doesn't give us anything for reestablishing the budgets that they've got currently. So are we going to take the full $2.5 million cut next year to all the departments? And I don't know what kind of catastrophe that would make with shutdowns, layoffs, closing of courtrooms, as the prosecutor spoke in the past, versus doing an adjustment later in this year if it comes to having less employees finish out the year versus putting in the full dollars at this point.
Also, the sheriff's study that we approved Phase 2 today, Droz pointed out that he has no money for it, so we have to find the money to pay for it. It's not anything that was set aside, I don't believe, so that's another $68,960 we have to pay for it from someplace.
Do we have
I think
any of
it's-
that in professional services, Commissioner, or Lisa?
We have money in professional services. We're going to have to allocate additional resources there, though, but we currently have some there. We've already tapped that fund for several different things for these departments already that were unanticipated, so I will tell you that there's going to be a shortfall there if we continue to do that.
And by the way, the commissioners have not adjusted their budgets whatsoever from the first of the year. We've absorbed all of our cuts, and we're trying to live within our means. So that's always an issue come October also for ourselves.
All right, well,
Along with bargaining contracts, Commissioner Kukowski, that we are looking at settling that could run anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million more this year. That's why I don't see expending all the dollars where we get a bargaining contract.
We can
that we
always,
have
we can always give additional appropriations.
Correct.
But
That's
if
what
we
I'm
give it
hoping.
all now, we can't really take it, well, we can always take it away, but after they spend it, we can't get it back. But the
I didn't
idea
say
is that-
every department needs to be 100%, just the ones that have to do with safety and the ones that go along with the justice system.
Well, I understand that, but I'd prefer to give them half of what they have asked for and keep looking at what they're doing as opposed to just in one fell swoop. I think it's more prudent for us to keep an eye on what's transpiring both with income and outgo. I think that's a better approach. I think that's our job.
It's hard to really decide what they're doing on a day-to-day operation and how they're spending their money, just like sometimes we don't even know what we're doing in our own department with the stupid ice machine. You know, things happen that we're not aware of and we have no control over.
Well, I think that's where the public gets an opportunity to see where our needs are at, though, especially coming up with the sales tax vote in November. They'll understand our shortfalls. It's more explanation, more open-type meetings, right, Shirley and Elizabeth? People explaining their needs here?
Very educational.
Right, so I mean, I had talked about that originally, reinstating half, and what Commissioner Blair did. I also met with Dick Williams, a New Russia Township trustee this week, to speak about the road patrol and the fundings with the Sheriff's Department. I told him I understood his pain. And I also spoke to a Grafton Village councilman last night who said maybe the townships, and I was going to give this to Jerry today, could speak with the villages, maybe sharing resources, and maybe the villages helping out because the Sheriff's Road Patrol is also helping the village areas. So, I mean, there's a nice synergy between those two areas. Maybe they could have a help together if you brought the township trustees and the village people together. It was Councilman Tom Smith, the former mayor of Grafton, I was speaking to last evening on that issue. But, yeah, I can't see us being able to restore the budget 100%, even though I'd like to. I mean, don't want anybody to run short. But at this point, if we can reinstate half, at least they've got something they can work towards, and we can sit down and go through the same process probably end of September, 1st of October, and see where we're sitting at going into next year. Because without increased revenues, Commissioner, and we go through the entire carryover, I'm afraid we'll have to see some county operations. I don't know where we're going to get additional revenues to make up our shortfall this year. We'll still have the $3.5 million less in local government fund cut again. And if we have decreased revenues again, like we did from 06 to 07, the Budget Commission gave us, and they lowered it to $46.5 million, because we know sales tax is down. And we know we're going to expend $57 million this year. That's what our budget is to expend, correct, Jim? Do we have $57 million in expenditures?
Well, I anticipated, hopefully at the year end, that's what we spend. Our budget's much larger than that.
I know that, but expenditures $57 million plus the $9 million we're not going to use would put us at 66. But if we only take in $51 million.
Correct.
Okay, so the following year, if it's even more severe, where do we come up to dollars to continue the operations if the sales tax doesn't pass?
Well, the problem is if it doesn't pass, okay. The problem is if you don't start pushing down now, you're going to have to push down even harder later, and it's going to be much more severe. I mean, I'm not going to, this is the commissioner's decision, but clearly it's a multiplying effect, and we need to start making certain strategic changes now that'll allow us not to have a total collapse when the bottom falls out.
Not when, if. If.
I'm not as optimistic as you, Commissioner, but okay.
Good.
I mean, we were elected to lead. Our primary responsibility, our revised code, is the budget. I think that's what we're trying to do here, work within the dollars and cents we got. Like I say, we're here to lead, not cheerlead. We're not here to gloss a fancy painting over or make a picture of things better than what they are. As you saw in the paper, City of Lorain, our largest municipality, has one of the highest unemployment rates in the state of Ohio. They've laid off a third of their school district employees. They're trying to get by with reduced dollars. Those loss of jobs are definitely going to hurt our sales tax, because if 246 families aren't working, they're not spending any dollars and cents. I saw in the paper the other day, Port St. Lucie is looking for school teachers, and teachers are sending resumes down there, so we're losing very good people who are very important to our community. But I think we need to buckle down now and see how it goes. If we have to do budgets per quarter, I don't want to see us go in the red. We need to stay in the black. We are relatively healthy, but if we expend too many dollars now, next year's going to be very bad. So.
Commissioner, I think you both have very, very good positions. I just wouldn't allude to these departments if you do anything that you're going to look at it again in 2 or 3 months, because then that doesn't make them do strategically what they need to do if they think there's going to be more money coming. And
well, I didn't promise that, Jim. I'm just looking at revenue estimates at that point and see where we're at. Then we can sit down and talk about it and look at what our next best case scenario is, or next worst case scenario to continue the operations of county government. We know we're mandated. Like Court of Common Pleas can tell us, just give us our money, and domestic can do the same thing.
You know, the probate court could have done the same thing, but Judge Harbath came before us and said he had 2 employees that were no longer employed, and he didn't replace them.
So I'm
No.
urging all elected officials, if you have somebody leave, please take into consideration splitting up the workload. The Commissioner's Office has done that the last couple of years, looking at the downturn in revenues. I don't know, I don't think we want to put a hiring freeze on, but I think we have to make sure we look at who our employees are and who we hire and expenditures for the rest of the year.
Well, you really couldn't put a hiring freeze on. Each appointing official is responsible for hiring they can get 10, they can get 10. If they can get 15, they get 15 within their budget. So we wouldn't be able to regulate their employment issues. That would be strictly voluntary, just like working within inside the confines of the parameters of a budget are.
Wasn't sure how that worked. Just have read about it a lot over the years.
I understand.
Commissioner Kukowski, any more comments? I'd like to make a motion to reinstate half the budgets as outlined by Commissioner Blair at this point, and then take a new look at it in a couple of months.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
No.
Clerk's report.
I don't have anything. Board correspondence?
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
Elizabeth Rumix, Oberlin. One curiosity question, the $180,000 for the airport, is that to go towards those hangars, or is this the continuing maintenance, et cetera?
I think it's for the taxi runways, isn't it?
Yeah, Commissioner Kokoski is correct. This is going to be for the runways and the aprons, and it actually is ongoing maintenance dollars. We receive these type of dollars pretty routinely, but far be it from me to challenge somebody taking credit for getting them for us. I'm just glad we've got them, and we'll continue to apply for those type of dollars in the future.
Says the project will also replace low voltage deteriorated cables, which will support the entire airfield lighting system.
Okay, thank you. Just incidentally, I hadn't intended to say anything about this, but I'm wondering if there is a slight deviation in the flight patterns or whether weather is an element in it, but it seems to me at 11 at night and perhaps other times, but I'm particularly noticing it then, there may be 2 or 3 airplanes not immediately overhead, but I can hear them. And normally in Oberlin we don't hear things. So I would just mention that. Two things I did want to bring up. One, I understand there's an electronics disposal pickup this coming weekend. Where and what time? Where people can drop off televisions, et cetera.
Windstream Service Center, 560 Turnus Avenue in Elyria.
And is it all day, or
I'm sorry,
is it all day, or?
I don't have the times. Do you have the times, Teresa?
I want to say 9 to 3, but I could be.
I just put it on my calendar so I know to go there and get rid of my stuff.
Usually starts at 9, someone says. The other thing is that the Oberlin Resource Recovery Committee has been talking about the cities looking into alternative sources or supplementary sources of energy. And at the last meeting, there was a discussion about solar power and what might be done with it in Oberlin to add to the power, to the energy input and so on. And that leads me to wonder, is the county, and this is just an open question, is the county doing anything to explore alternate energy sources or solar energy in particular, which seems to have somewhat less of a problem than, say, wind power does, particularly in Ohio? But that's just a question for some future.
No, well, I can answer a little bit. Mike Challenger is from Lorain Downtown
Main Street.
Growth Corporation.
Growth-
Yeah, they're not Main
yeah.
Street. He's involved with the sustainable products and renewable energies. He's been talking to people. He's part of a forum in Cleveland. So, I mean, it's been discussed. I actually talked to Mike Sherman from the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Their business can be in southern Ohio. Ethanol is the best thing that ever hit, he said, for his workers because they're setting up ethanol plants in southern Ohio. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on necessarily in this region at this point, but it's being addressed in the state.
Any other public comment? Mr. Irvine? Jim, you're the, yeah.
Good morning, Martin.
The Team Lorain County
You
update.
had to wait a long time for the opportunity.
That's quite all right. Good morning, Commissioners and Mr. Cordez. Jim, if I could ask you to help me with the technology here?
I'm working on it.
It's
There
up.
you go. That work?
Yep.
You got your clicker?
Thank you.
Good.
Can you hear me okay? I am Martin Irvin, President of Team Lorain County, for those viewers that may not know who I am. But wanted to update the Commissioners on some of the activities that we've had going on the last 6 months. In addition to that, and in addition to some of the prospect management that we've been doing in our marketing efforts, I wanted to introduce Steve Morey, who is our latest partner in crime, if you will.
Morning, Steve.
Steve is our economic development specialist. Two main areas of responsibility include the retention expansion, and we'll get into that a little bit more in detail, as well as making sure that we catalog all of the available buildings and sites in the area, and we're working very closely with the Community Development Department on that as well. I've been going around meeting with a lot of the different investors, updating them on our activities, and this is what this is. It's just to let you know some of the things that we're working on. I did put our mission statement up there for those in the audience if they want to see what that says, but it's Team Lorain County will respect, value, and respond to the dynamic needs of our residents, businesses, and visitors. And it just goes on to say that what we hope to do is help Lorain County become the county of choice, that companies choose to come here, individuals choose to come here to take advantage of the schools and the other activities that we do have in our county. To date, you can see on the screen in front of you that the investors to date totals about $473,000. That is at that 60-40 ratio between private sector and public sector investors, which is also how our board is set up in that 60-40 ratio. And we've had a board governance committee working very diligently for the last several months on the board governance issues to make sure that there's a succession plan for officers and replenishing the board membership. And we do have currently 30 board members on our board. One of the things that we've been working very hard on is business retention and expansion. We can do all the business attraction we want, but if we don't take care of the existing businesses, we're at the opportunity where that could be lost, or we're missing out on opportunities for expansion. So we've set a very aggressive goal to call on 200 businesses this year, and we're using a software called Synchronist. And actually, each interview takes a minimum of 45 minutes, and we go in there and we sit down with either the company president or one of their executives, and we go through this long, detailed outline with them, asking a series of questions, not just about their respective company, but about their industry, what competition is like coming from overseas. And it's about 47 or 48 different questions. So we're getting very in-depth information from these companies, and we're finding that they're very willing to share with us some of the things that they've got on the horizon, plus or minus, whatever that might be. And to date, we've done about 20 of these calls, and you can see down at the bottom, well, no, it's on the next screen. And I reviewed some of that screen there. We've sent 60 letters out so far and have interviewed 20. We're looking for either red flags or opportunities to continue to work further with those companies. And if a company has an expansion plan, for example, that we discover, then we would establish a real team, the retention, expansion, attraction leadership team that has been set up through the partnership. Whoops, did we have, let me back up a second. Easier said than done. Yeah, at the bottom. Companies interviewed to date are the larger companies representing 6,000 employees and over $4 billion in revenues. So we're getting out there and talking to a lot of the major employers. We have been working very hard again on establishing a website. This is just the cover page for our website. And this is geared towards site selection consultants and companies looking for data information on our respective county. This is where the available buildings or available sites are listed. This is all tied into the county's website. This is tied into the state of Ohio's website. So if a company, for example, in Japan is looking for a 100,000 square foot building in Northeast Ohio, and whether they go to the state of Ohio's website, our website, or the county's website, it's all the same database. So we're working very hard to make sure that's up there. And in addition to that, we're getting additional out-migration, in-migration tables and other activities that is geared towards those site selection consultants and businesses. It's not the glossy, Chamber of Commerce type of brochure or website pitch. It's more of the detailed information. In addition to working on the website, we also have initiated a newsletter. This is just a cover of our second one that went out, and we're trying to update not just our investors, but some of the major businesses as well as yourselves on some of the activities that are taking place to date in Lorain County. We've set a list of different trade shows that we're going to and have already started going to promote Lorain County and Northeast Ohio as a good place for businesses to invest and relocate or expand into. I've already attended the SAE show in Detroit. CoreNet is a show that is geared towards site selection consultants. So we're developing relationships with those consultants across the nation. There's about 2,000 site selection consultants across the nation, and probably 150 of them do 80% of the work. So those are the 150 is what we've targeted to really work with. We're looking at future shows, including a food processing show, the fall CoreNet show, and then FabTech, which is an advanced machinery show, and a welding show. So we'll go to those to promote the benefits of Lorain County in those trade shows as well. And we're in the process of looking at putting together some collateral marketing pieces as well to have for that. I did want to bring up very briefly the Cleveland Plus campaign that Team NEO and the Greater Cleveland Partnership has all put together. They are branding the 16 counties in Northeast Ohio as a good place to do business, as a good place to have conventions and other tourism activities. But the Team NEO team has taken this campaign, Cleveland Plus, and is marketing this to the site selection consultant community very hard. And in the next couple slides, you'll see some of the things that they're doing with that. But you won't see television ads promoting the Cleveland Plus campaign. You might see a newspaper ad from time to time with this logo and branding campaign. But it is really geared through the electronic media and in mailings to specific targeted industries as well as the site selection consultants. This is all really to help generate leads for this Northeast Ohio region. And I just put the funnel up there because Team NEO is in the process of generating positive impressions of this region. They're putting those leads into the funnels. We're starting to see some of those leads come in from them, and we're starting to work those. In some of the coming slides, you'll see that. And as you can see, generate impressions. They're qualifying those leads, and then they're working with Team Lorain County. And then when it gets to the point where a real team needs to be established, or the partners, the Lorain County Growth Partnership needs to be more involved, we're bringing the team members on the local level together to help us with these efforts to, possibly and hopefully start to land more and more of these. Many of these projects, their time frame is 12 to 18 months out. So that's, it just takes time to generate these impressions and work that whole process. In addition to the electronic mailings and direct mail campaigns, Team NEO, and I'm on their board of directors as well as their business development committee, they've selected these 4 different markets to go to and talk to site selection consultants, and they'll eventually expand that into calling on corporate headquarters in those areas as well. They recently did their first trip to Atlanta. They met with 7 different site selection consultants, and we're finding that we're changing many of their perceptions about Northeast Ohio and the benefits of doing business up here. Chicago scheduled for later in the year. I'm going to participate in a New York City, New Jersey site selection marketing visit. In a previous life when I was with American Electric Power, I used to call on site selection consultants in business in both New York and New Jersey, and I did that for about 10 years, so it's a very fertile ground to develop working relationships. In addition to these site selector market visits, Team NEO is coordinating what they're calling FAM tours. It's familiarization tours, bringing site selection consultants into this region and highlighting, again, the benefits of doing business here. We recently just concluded the rock and roll, they called it a rock and jock fam tour. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame police concert was conducted on July 16th. We were able to participate in that. I got a chance to sit down with 10 different site selection consultants, and as a result of that, one of them have already inquired about getting some additional information on the types of workers and available workers in this area. So we've developed that working relationship with that respective consultant. And then coming up later this month, actually I think it's August 4th, is a Pro Football Hall of Fame Bridgestone Golf Tournament, and we've been asked to participate in that as well. So we're getting Lorain County on the radar screen with these site selection consultants. Did want to show you the amount of activity that we're starting to at least have come through our office. See if I can work this. And the reason I broke it down into these two columns, January through April and then May to July 25th, is that the Cleveland Plus campaign was kicked off April 27th. So I wanted to point out that the Team Neo leads the first 4 months of this year. We saw 3 come from Team Neo. Since the branding campaign has started, we've seen an additional 12. So that's the partnership that Team Lorain County has in representing the whole county with Team Neo. So we're starting to see more and more direct leads coming in from Team Neo now. Now Team Neo had some more leads than that coming in the first couple months of the year, but they were also from the state of Ohio. So we would have gotten those leads anyway. But Team Neo did take a lead in some of those. So you can see the amount of activity is increasing. During a 4-month period, basically, we had 23 leads coming in. In less than 3 months, since that time, we've had an additional 23. So we've got 46 logged in that we have sent some information to, whether it's available building, some comments on the types of workers, available workers in this area, and we're coordinating that through the Community Development Department as well. Again, just to continue with the prospect activity, we've still have 31 of those 46 leads that are still in some way, shape, or form active. The inquiries that are coming in are range from very small, 10,000 square foot international automotive firm looking for, space available in Northeast Ohio to, a $500 million or $500 million investment creating, 500 jobs. So it ranges from the small automobile supplier to call centers to distribution companies, and there's no real type of company that's starting to express an interest in Northeast Ohio other than we're starting to see an increase in leads from the medical industry. The health-related industries are starting to inquire more and more about Northeast Ohio, and I think that's coming from the site selection consultants that are representing those types of clients that are looking in this area. And in fact, the 10 that we just recently had in for the rock tour, we changed all of their perceptions about Northeast Ohio 180 degrees, and several of them were representing different health-related types of industries. Like I said, the 31 prospects that are still in some way, shape, or form an active file, you can see what that's representative of, between 3,500 and 3,800 potential jobs, and you can see the level of investment there too. So we're getting, and not that Lorain County wasn't on the radar screen, but we're elevating, our exposure on that radar screen. I wanted to share this particular slide. This was copied from an email that we received from one of the clients that we had in town recently that you also met with. They were very encouraged by what they saw. We are one of 2 final communities for this respective company. We've been on hold for the last month and a half or so because of some application deadlines at the state of Ohio, which has passed. I got a voice message yesterday from this particular client to anticipate some additional contact, and we did receive those emails late yesterday afternoon, early evening, so we'll have to reestablish the real team again to address the requests that have come from this particular client. But you can see that through the efforts of the commissioners with the growth partnership and the real team efforts and everything, that we're starting to show the benefits of that. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them to the best of my ability.
I gave Rebecca the answers to your questions this morning. Nice job with you two guys. So we'll be able to respond pretty quick.
Thank you.
Yes, it was nice emails.
Thanks.
Is that last company that said we put the O, like OH in Ohio?
Mhm.
Is that the one the commissioners were involved with?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What's delayed that particular project is that respective company's client has changed. So there was some changes in who they were representing. Some of the company representatives you met is not as involved in that project anymore, so.
Okay. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Now we just need to land some of these jobs, now that we're out there.
There's a couple fish on the hook.
I-
Just got to reel them in.
You know, we can't
It
go into
takes
any more
time.
detail than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Nice job. Motion to move into executive session is outlined by the county administrator and county prosecutor.
Second.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial, and although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city was spurred on by the expanding fishing and shipbuilding industries. In 1894, when Tom Johnson brought his steel mill to town, Lorain's destiny to be the county's largest city was assured. In 1813, the township of Ridgeville was officially organized. 3 years earlier, members of the Beebe, Terrell, and Root families had established this new settlement they called Rootstown. The change to Ridgeville was decided upon to indicate the sand ridges that passed through the area and provided transportation routes and fertile farmland. The area around the intersection of Butternut Ridge and Roots Road, first called Briggs Corner, was by 1880 known as Fields Corners and was the site of the town's water well. With the growth of the city of North Ridgeville, the township of Ridgeville was incorporated out of existence. In 1810, Silas Wilmot, along with Asa and Ira Morgan, erected a cabin on Butternut Ridge, and the community later called Eaton Township was begun. Wilmot married Chloe Hubbard of Ashtabula, and they were given the cabin, thereby becoming the township's pioneering couple. When Ridgeville Township was organized in 1813, it included Eaton, which was at that time called Holbrook. While the area was still a part of Cuyahoga County, the township of Eaton was separated from Ridgeville. Its first officers were elected in 1823, while the township was in transition to the new Lorain County. Amherst's township's founding can be traced to one Jacob Shoup. After first settling on the Black River, he moved in 1811 to the Beaver Creek. By 1815, he had erected a grist mill and the area's first distillery. Whiskeyville, today the intersection of Routes 58 and 113, earned its nickname as a center for the production of this important pioneer commodity. As the primary community of the township developed at the Old Spring, it came to be known as Amherst Corners. By 1836, the name Amherstville was recorded in the county offices, and in 1873, the town was incorporated as North Amherst. In 1909, the U.S. Postal Service had to choose between the villages of North and South Amherst. They chose the former, which then became the official and present-day Amherst. In 1917, in the northeast corner of the county, the township of Avon became another of Lorain County's 21 townships to vanish due to city incorporation. In 1814, Wilbur Cahoon had arrived from Montgomery County, New York, to become the first to settle in what was then Troy Township of Cuyahoga County. The farming community grew around its power source, the French Creek. Development along the interurban line would incorporate the northern part of the township into the city of Avon Lake in 1911, with the remainder of the township becoming the village of Avon in 1917. It was families such as the Burrell, Day, and Roots who established themselves in the Sheffield area in 1815 and 16. The township of Sheffield would not actually be created until 1824, when the newly elected Lorain County Commissioners made the township one of the first acts of their administration. The land had been primarily in Cuyahoga County prior to the 1822 reorganization. The southwest corner of the township was in Huron County and is today the only place to find a small section still called Sheffield Township. The remainder of the area has been incorporated, like its neighbor Avon, with the north becoming Sheffield Lake and the south the village of Sheffield. In 1816, Colonel Henry Brown of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, purchased a large tract of land known as Number 6, Range 19. Mr. Brown would later name the township after himself by simply adding Helm to his family name. Like the Old Saxon Ham, the suffix meant home. The Deacon Shepherd family were the first settlers when they arrived on July 4, 1817. The village of Brownhelm Mills, located in Benjamin Bacon's Mill Hollow, was one of 3 communities to develop. Bacon's Corners, or the center, was 3 miles east of the hollow, while just west of the hollow was Rugby, where stores, a church, a school, and the post office were located. The first settlers to the Grafton Township area were Jonathan and Grendall Rawson in 1816. 10 years later, the Rawsons were forced to build a grist mill, or forfeit their land under their original agreement with the Western Reserve Land Company. Railroads and quarries were the greatest influence on the growth of the village the locals called Rawsonville. The quarrying industry in particular was responsible for the influx of French-Canadian, Welsh, Irish, Polish, and German immigrants. In 1877, when the village was being incorporated, the name Rawsonville was dropped in favor of the railroad station name of Grafton. Originally a part of Elyria Township, Carlisle was settled in 1816 by John Bacon of Windham County, Vermont. When the new Lorain County was being organized in 1822, Carlisle Township became its own entity. LaPorte developed as the township village with Phineas Johnson as the first postmaster and hotel owner. In 1840, Anson Brayman's Carlisle Nursery became the first of its kind in Lorain County. Quarrying was another important industry of the township, as the sandstone blocks were used for city buildings as far away as Toronto. Founding father Heman Ely owned over 10,000 acres of the land that would be developed into the township of Elyria, and the city, which also bears his family name. In 1817, Artemus Beebe headed a work crew that came to establish a new village at the Y of the Black River branches. Mills were constructed and the main street cleared. Beebe's crew also erected a home for Mr. Ely at Broad and East Bridge Streets, and a home for himself across the street, which became the Beebe Tavern. Both structures avoided demolition until well into the 20th century. In 1822, Mr. Ely spearheaded the movement to create Lorain County. He donated the land for the county courthouse, thus influencing the choice of Elyria as the county seat. Mr. Ely's little village would develop into a city with a varied industrial base as well as the center of government for Lorain County. Simon Durand came to America as an interpreter for Revolutionary War hero French General Lafayette. Durand remained in the new nation and in the winter of 1817 moved from New York State to the 160 acres he had purchased south of Brownhelm. 10 years later, the population of the area was enough to support the formation of a new township. With the southern portion ceded to Brighton and the northern portion annexed from Brownhelm, the township of Henrietta was created in 1827. Although New England families represented the majority of settlers to the area in 1818, one of the pioneers was William Welling of Montgomery County, New York. History is not clear if the community was named in honor of Welling or for the famous English Duke of Wellington, hero of Europe's recent Napoleonic Wars. With the coming of the railroad, Wellington grew into an agricultural marketplace, and in fact was the nation's leader in cheese production from 1870 to 1900. The county fair, now located in Wellington, helps to continue the depiction of small-town America shown in native son Archibald Willard's famous painting, The Spirit of '76. In 1818, Joseph Sage and the family of his son-in-law, John Laborie, journeyed through a severe winter from Connecticut to their new homestead in Huntington Township. More pioneering families came to the area, and by 1822, the population was such that the Medina County Commissioners incorporated the township using the Huntington, Connecticut hometown of many of the settlers as its new name. Lumber, grain, and cheese dominated the local economy. In 1824, when Lorain County came into full operation, Huntington was transferred from Medina County. The citizens of Old Russia Township, that had been first settled in 1818, requested detachment from Black River Township in 1825. The town and college of Oberlin were founded in 1833 and would grow to dominate the area. The Oberlin concept combined a Christian community and a Christian coeducational institute. Through the influence of founders John Shippard and Philo Stewart, New York businessman Arthur Tappan, and noted evangelist Charles Finney, the college would become not only co-ed, but also multiracial, and the nation's leader in the abolitionist movement. The independent spirit that created the first Russia Township was evident once again in 1992, as New Russia Township detached itself from Oberlin. In 1820, the Peter Penfield family began the permanent settlement of the area he had first selected in the fall of 1818. Penfield Township's organizational election was held in April of 1825. The first religious service was held in 1826, and the first school was in session in the summer of 1829. The township's first post office put the emphasis on post and not the office. As the Penfields lived well off the established mail route, a hollow tree near the river was used by the local residents for sending and receiving the mail. The township, with its fertile soil, grew into a part of Lorain County's rich agricultural heritage. In the fall of 1820, Abner Loveland, Jr. became the first permanent settler of Brighton. Within a year, the families of Joseph Kingsbury and Abner Loveland, Sr. had arrived, and the new community began to grow. With elections held in the spring of 1823, Brighton Township was being organized at the same time the area was being transferred from Medina to Lorain County. Like much of the new county, Brighton was essentially agricultural. Although Pittsfield's first settlers arrived in 1813, the area was considered too dangerous because of the British and Indian activity connected to the War of 1812. By 1820, the land was surveyed, and Milton Whitney became the owner of a large parcel. Whitney arranged for the Waite brothers of Russia Township to become the first permanent settlers in the spring of 1821. By 1831, there were enough residents to request that the county incorporate a township independent of Wellington. Pittsfield was chosen as the township's name to honor the Massachusetts hometown of many of the area's pioneers. LaGrange Township's first settler was Nathan Clark, who in the fall of 1825 established his new homestead on the east branch of the Black River. By the summer of 1826, 14 more settlers had arrived. The name LaGrange, which is French for the farm, was chosen to honor French General Lafayette, as it was also the name of his country estate. In 1827, the area was separated from Carlisle Township and reorganized with elections in April into the new township of LaGrange. By 1875, the center had grown into a village, also incorporated as LaGrange. The pioneer settler of the Camden area was Leonard Clark. Over the next 4 years, other families moved into the area, including Roswell Babcocks, who built the first frame house in 1833. Early on, the area was divided between Henrietta and Brighton townships. In 1835, the new township of Camden was created by the county commissioners, and the first elections held in April of 1836. When the first post office was established in 1835, the community was called Panelise. The name was changed to Camden, then later to North Camden. In 1852, the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railroad called its station Binghamton, but that was soon changed as the town adopted the name Kipton. Kipton's more important connection to the railroad was a tragic collision in 1891. The wreck was instrumental in the creation of standardized or railroad time. Rochester was the last township within the present-day boundaries of Lorain County to be settled. Stephen Babcock brought his family from Massachusetts in the spring of 1832 to settle on land he had prepared the previous year. The area grew quickly, and by 1835, the commissioners formed a new township with the first elections held in April of 1836. The township's farming and related businesses grew with the population. By 1880, close to 700 citizens lived in the area. The population shifted from Rochester Center to Rochester Station when the Big Four Railroad came through the township. The small town boom would turn to bust when the railroad eliminated Rochester as a scheduled stop. The depot would be used as a schoolhouse, as the home of the Rochester Rod and Gun Club, and today as the home of the Rochester Historical Society.
I am Martin Irvin, President of Team Lorain County, for those viewers that may not know who I am. But wanted to update the commissioners on some of the activities that we've had going on the last 6 months. In addition to that, and in addition to some of the prospect management that we've been doing in our marketing efforts, I wanted to introduce Steve Morey, who is our latest partner in crime, if you will. Steve is our economic development specialist. The two main areas of responsibility include the retention expansion, and we'll get into that a little bit more in detail, as well as making sure that we catalog all of the available buildings and sites in the area, and we're working very closely with the Community Development Department on that as well. I've been going around meeting with a lot of the different investors, updating them on our activities, and this is what this is, just to let you know some of the things that we're working on. I did put our mission statement up there for those in the audience if they want to see what that says, but it's Team Lorain County will respect, value, and respond to the dynamic needs of our residents, businesses, and visitors. And it just goes on to say that what we hope to do is help Lorain County become the county of choice, that companies choose to come here, individuals choose to come here to take advantage of the schools and the other activities that we do have in our county. To date, you can see on the screen in front of you that the investors today totals about $473,000. That is at that 60-40 ratio between private sector and public sector investors, which is also how our board is set up in that 60-40 ratio. And we've had a board governance committee working very diligently for the last several months on the board governance issues to make sure that there's a succession plan for officers and replenishing the board membership. And we do have currently 30 board members on our board. One of the things that we've been working very hard on is business retention and expansion. We can do all the business attraction we want, but if we don't take care of the existing businesses, we're at the opportunity where that could be lost, or we're missing out on opportunities for expansion. So we've set a very aggressive goal to call on 200 businesses this year, and we're using a software called Synchronist. And actually, each interview takes a minimum of 45 minutes, and we go in there and we sit down with either the company president or one of their executives, and we go through this long, detailed outline with them, asking a series of questions, not just about their respective company, but about their industry, what competition is like coming from overseas. And it's about 47 or 48 different questions. So we're getting very in-depth information from these companies, and we're finding that they're very willing to share with us some of the things that they've got on the horizon, plus or minus, whatever that might be. And to date, we've done about 20 of these calls, and you can see down at the bottom, well, no, it's on the next screen. And I reviewed some of that screen there. We sent 60 letters out so far and have interviewed 20. We're looking for either red flags or opportunities to continue to work further with those companies. And if a company has an expansion plan, for example, that we discover, then we would establish a real team, the Retention, Expansion, Attraction Leadership team that has been set up through the partnership. Oops, did we have, let me back up a second. Easier said than done. Yeah, at the bottom. Companies interviewed to date are the larger companies representing 6,000 employees and over $4 billion in revenues. So we're getting out there and talking to a lot of the major employers. We have been working very hard again on establishing a website. This is just the cover page for our website. And this is geared towards site selection consultants and companies looking for data information on our respective county. This is where the available buildings or available sites are listed. This is all tied into the county's website. This is tied into the state of Ohio's website. So if a company, for example, in Japan is looking for a 100,000 square foot building in Northeast Ohio, and whether they go to the state of Ohio's website, our website, or the county's website, it's all the same database. So we're working very hard to make sure that's up there. And in addition to that, we're getting additional out-migration, in-migration tables and other activities that is geared towards those site selection consultants and businesses. It's not the glossy, Chamber of Commerce type of brochure or website pitch. It's more of the detailed information. In addition to working on the website, we also have initiated a newsletter. This is just a cover of our second one that went out. We're trying to update not just our investors, but some of the major businesses as well as yourselves on some of the activities that are taking place to date in Lorain County. We've set a list of different trade shows that we're going to and have already started going to promote Lorain County and Northeast Ohio as a good place for businesses to invest and relocate or expand into. I've already attended the SAE show in Detroit. CoreNet is a show that is geared towards site selection consultants. So we're developing relationships with those consultants across the nation. There's about 2,000 site selection consultants across the nation, and probably 150 of them do 80% of the work. So those are the 150 is what we've targeted to really work with. We're looking at future shows, including a food processing show, the fall CoreNet show, and then FabTech, which is an advanced machinery show, and a welding show. So we'll go to those to promote the benefits of Lorain County in those trade shows as well. And we're in the process of looking at putting together some collateral marketing pieces as well to have for that. I did want to bring up very briefly the Cleveland Plus campaign that Team NEO and the Greater Cleveland Partnership has all put together. They are branding the 16 counties in Northeast Ohio as a good place to do business, as a good place to have conventions and other tourism activities. But the Team NEO team has taken this campaign, Cleveland Plus, and is marketing this to the site selection consultant community very hard. And in the next couple slides, you'll see some of the things that they're doing with that. But you won't see television ads promoting the Cleveland Plus campaign. You might see a newspaper ad from time to time with this logo and branding campaign, but it is really geared through the electronic media and in mailings to specific targeted industries as well as the site selection consultants. This is all really to help generate leads for this Northeast Ohio region. And I just put the funnel up there because Team NEO is in the process of generating positive impressions of this region. They're putting those leads into the funnels. We're starting to see some of those leads come in from them, and we're starting to work those. In some of the coming slides, you'll see that. And as you can see, generate impressions. They're qualifying those leads, and then they're working with Team Lorain County. And then when it gets to the point where a real team needs to be established, or the partners, the Lorain County Growth Partnership needs to be more involved, we're bringing the team members on the local level together to help us with these efforts to, possibly and hopefully start to land more and more of these. Many of these projects, their time frame is 12 to 18 months out. So that's, it just takes time to generate these impressions and work that whole process. In addition to the electronic mailings and direct mail campaigns, Team NEO, and I'm on their board of directors as well as their business development committee, they've selected these 4 different markets to go to and talk to site selection consultants, and they'll eventually expand that into calling on corporate headquarters in those areas as well. They recently did their first trip to Atlanta. They met with 7 different site selection consultants, and we're finding that we're changing many of their perceptions about Northeast Ohio and the benefits of doing business up here. Chicago scheduled for later in the year. I'm going to participate in a New York City, New Jersey site selection marketing visit. In a previous life when I was with American Electric Power, I used to call on site selection consultants in business in both New York and New Jersey, and I did that for about 10 years, so it's a very fertile ground to develop working relationships. In addition to these site selector market visits, Team NEO is coordinating what they're calling FAM tours. It's familiarization tours, bringing site selection consultants into this region and highlighting, again, the benefits of doing business here. We recently just concluded the rock and roll, they called it a rock and jock FAM tour. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame police concert was conducted on July 16th. We were able to participate in that. I got a chance to sit down with 10 different site selection consultants, and as a result of that, one of them have already inquired about getting some additional information on the types of workers and available workers in this area. So we've developed that working relationship with that respective consultant. And then coming up later this month, actually I think it's August 4th, is a Pro Football Hall of Fame Bridgestone Golf Tournament, and we've been asked to participate in that as well. So we're getting Lorain County on the radar screen with these site selection consultants. Did want to show you the amount of activity that we're starting to at least have come through our office. See if I can work this. And the reason I broke it down into these two columns, January through April and then May to July 25th, is that the Cleveland Plus campaign was kicked off April 27th. So I wanted to point out that the Team Neo leads the first 4 months of this year. We saw 3 come from Team Neo. Since the branding campaign has started, we've seen an additional 12. So that's the partnership that Team Lorain County has in representing the whole county with Team Neo. So we're starting to see more and more direct leads coming in from Team Neo now. Now Team Neo had some more leads than that coming in the first couple months of the year, but they were also from the state of Ohio. So we would have gotten those leads anyway. But Team Neo did take a lead in some of those. So you can see the amount of activity is increasing. During a 4-month period, basically, we had 23 leads coming in. In less than 3 months, since that time, we've had an additional 23. So we've got 46 logged in that we have sent some information to, whether it's available building, some comments on the types of workers, available workers in this area, and we're coordinating that through the Community Development Department as well. Again, just to continue with the prospect activity, we've still have 31 of those 46 leads that are still in some way, shape, or form active. The inquiries that are coming in are range from very small, 10,000 square foot international automotive firm looking for, space available in Northeast Ohio to, a $500 million or $500 million investment creating, 500 jobs. So it ranges from the small automobile supplier to call centers to distribution companies, and there's no real type of company that's starting to express an interest in Northeast Ohio other than we're starting to see an increase in leads from the medical industry. The health-related industries are starting to inquire more and more about Northeast Ohio, and I think that's coming from the site selection consultants that are representing those types of clients that are looking in this area. And in fact, the 10 that we just recently had in for the rock tour, we changed all of their perceptions about Northeast Ohio 180 degrees, and several of them were representing different health-related types of industries. Like I said, the 31 prospects that are still in some way, shape, or form an active file, you can see what that's representative of, between 3,500 and 3,800 potential jobs, and you can see the level of investment there too. So we're getting, and not that Lorain County wasn't on the radar screen, but we're elevating, our exposure on that radar screen. I wanted to share this particular slide. This was copied from an email that we received from one of the clients that we had in town recently that you also met with. They were very encouraged by what they saw. We are one of 2 final communities for this respective company. We'd been on hold for the last month and a half or so because of some application deadlines at the state of Ohio, which has passed. I got a voice message yesterday from this particular client to anticipate some additional contact, and we did receive those emails late yesterday afternoon, early evening, so we'll have to reestablish the real team again to address the requests that have come from this particular client. But you can see that through the efforts of the commissioners with the growth partnership and the real team efforts and everything, that we're starting to show the benefits of that.
There, here, have a treat, okay? No one can deny the loving devotion we get from our dogs, and I think we all agree we get back more love than we give them. I'm Dick Goddard. I'm reminding you, if you share your love with a dog, you'll never regret it. There's really nothing like a dog to spark up your life, whether you're a youngster, a senior citizen, or somewhere in between. And dogs have a whole lot of affection to share. Okay, is that good? You don't have to go far to hear heartwarming adoption stories.
With my husband is like saying man's best friend. He truly loves that dog. He feels it's part human. It's his second daughter, as Erica said. It's definitely a prize. She's queen of the house, basically. She's a good lover. She gives us a lot of attention. She's a good girl.
We had a cat before we had Abby, and Abby adapted very well. She is best friends with that cat. She will not harm that cat in any way. She's amazing. I love her. When I'm in bed at night, Abby will jump up with me and she will pull the covers back and she will lay under the covers and lay her head on the pillow just like a human.
I encourage anyone to go to the Lorain County Kennel to adopt a dog. It's given our family great satisfaction and a great reward.
After, a bad day at work or anytime you come home, it's just always nice. They kind of turn your mood around when you come in the door, and they wagging their tails and jumping on you, and it's a great feeling to know that they're happy to see you and that they love you just as much as you love them. She is good with our other dog. She's good with people. She likes attention, and she likes to cuddle up with you.
It's funny when Lily, when you kind of discipline her sometimes when she does something bad, or she always seems to roll on her back and put her paws in the air and just look up at you with a sad look. So it's kind of hard to even get mad at her when she does something like that. So we kind of laugh at that.
And it's always amusing when she does get a spurt of energy and want to run around, and we're always like, oh my gosh, Lily's going to play now.
Yeah,
so
like sometimes, I'm on the couch or whatever, and she'll hop down, and she always tries to bite her own tail, and then that kind of keys on our other dog, Rocky, to chime in and try to, bite at her tail a little bit, and then they start playing around a little bit.
One day we came home with some food from, I just really wanted a burger. So we had a burger, and I had it sitting on the tray table by the couch, and I got up for a minute and got a drink, came back, and Lily was licking her lips. She had eaten the whole thing, and I was not very happy with her. So I screamed and told Kurt to come down and get her away from me because I was just so upset. But we both lived, and I was fine afterwards. One of the best things about adopting a dog from the kennel, at least for us, was, again, just giving this dog, who knows what would have happened to her, a new life, and also giving our other dog a companion during the day. It's just fun to have the two dogs and take them for walks and watch them play, and it brought us closer as well.
It just makes you feel better as a person that, you're giving a dog a better chance to live a life.
Actually, I enjoy the exercise because I need to, trying to lose weight. Salem makes me get out of the house every day, and so I have to take him for a walk, even if I don't want to. And he's not that much trouble because he was pretty much housebroken when I got him from the pound. I really like the older pet because Salem was kind of, whoever had him before, they really kind of housebroken, so I didn't really have to go through the potty training deal. I just had to let him out and find a place for him to go. And I think older pets, especially for people who don't have children, are kind of good because Salem, he's real playful, but he's not. He gets tired and he lays down and he doesn't want to be bothered, and that's fine with me. So he's not always wanting to play, because puppies have a lot of energy. And Salem has quite a bit of energy, but sometimes he just lays on his pillow and he's like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. And sometimes when he wants to play, he wants to play, and that's okay. I got Salem at the Lorain County Dog Pound. I found him on the internet, actually. They had his picture on the internet, And so I called, and he was still there. And so I immediately went over and looked at him. We went outside and played, and he jumped in the car and wouldn't get out, and there we were. So we were on our way home. So it was love at first sight. He's a very good companion. I can always depend on him to be here and greet me with, open arms when I come in the door. He's very protective of me, and he lets me know when anyone is outside or in the driveway. So I feel safe with Salem. Even though he's a small dog, he gives me a safe feeling just in my own home. If I'm having a bad day sometimes and I'm just not in a real good mood, he'll come up and snuggle up to me like, "Hey, Mom, it's okay." I think other people should adopt a pet, and even an older dog. The Lorain County Pound has so many wonderful dogs. All you have to do is go over there and look. I mean, even now, I still go on the website and I tell Salem, "Don't you want a little brother or sister?" Because they have all these little cute dogs over there, and they all need good homes. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, I suggest you try the Lorain County Dog Pound first. I mean, you pay for the license and just a nominal fee, and you got a great dog and a great companion and somebody that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life, and they'll love you no matter what.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hadaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. It's like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.